Well, Kurt, I kind of like, after so much attention has been paid to John Cena this year and Brock Lesnar lately, that WWE going into the fall season here, post SummerSlam, is focusing on two full-time guys, Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. And the conversation has turned to them both being, I think Seth's 39 and Cody's 40, the current top stars of this generation, debating who is going to kind of define this era, run this era, and be looked back upon as the top star right now. And I think that was kind of important for WWE to do. I think, and I wrote this and have talked pretty consistently about it, I think Cody has been in the shadow of John Cena, to a degree, Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. People can agree or disagree that Seth and Cody are at the level of some of these other stars. I mean, that can be debated. But I think segments like tonight and what we've seen the past week have helped at least tell current WWE viewers, here's what we want the conversation to be, and Cody and Seth are having a pretty compelling discussion back and forth over it. How do you feel about that?
Honestly, I thought this week's segment compared to last week's, it was like a lesser version of what we saw last week. Although, yes, we are getting them more like centered around the show like they should be because they're both the champions. Mm-hmm. I felt like this week's segment, it dragged just a little bit, like especially Seth Rollins' part when he was like playing into the crowd, cheering him, and then he was just going on and on. Like up until Cody interrupted him, I was a little bored with it, to be honest with you. But then once Cody came out and they went back and forth a little bit, it got better. But the main thing I took out of it more than anything was Seth Rollins' mentality of how he has to beat Cody Rhodes when they face each other at Crown Jewel. So if there was anything that came out of that segment tonight, it was that. And also looking back at it now, like from what Cody said to him last week about how many matches that we had together did you win before he left? Like now, this is like basically the story going into this match is that Seth Rollins has not ever beaten Cody Rhodes. So in many ways, that's a dead giveaway for how the match is going to turn out in the end. But it is a smart and interesting story to tell on the way to the eventual match. And more than anything, it's just a nice break from Seth Rollins and CM Punk, which was getting played out and getting a little dull. So I'm happy they're getting away from that a little bit to give us this story. So I'm liking where it's going. I think the match is going to be incredible once they get to Crown Jewel. But this is all leading to a Seth Rollins win. That's the only way you can see that from what they're doing so far.
Kurt, you anticipated my second, third, and fourth questions and covered them well there. I still have my first question that I want to know what you feel, though. And that is not evaluating the segments and predicting what's going to happen, but how do you feel about the shift to them? Regardless of if you like tonight's segment, regardless of what the outcome of the match is going to be, regardless of their history, do you agree with me that this week and last week is sending the message to viewers? Let's keep in mind, WWE Today, the people who are drawing the money and you're showing up every week, you're buying tickets to see, are the people you know who are going to be here. Now, granted, Cody took some time off, but overall, Seth and Cody are much more. I really want to get your thoughts on that. Like, do you think that's working? Because the focus has kind of shifted away from Cody, and obviously Brock is a force who is hovering and is tied in with Seth, and I want to get into that too with you. I thought that was one of the real compelling segments. Or parts of that segment. But to point A, in Block A here, how do you feel about the focus shifting back to Seth and Cody compared? And do you agree that that's happening and it kind of moved away from it before?
It does feel like they're more of the centerpiece. Like ever since they started doing this whole build for Crown Jewel, it does feel a little bit more that way because especially with Cody being gone for a month and even that match with Drew at WrestlePalooza, it didn't really feel like a big deal, didn't really feel like a main event, even though Cody is the champion. So now it is better to see the show like more centered around the two of them as we built to this match. The only thing I could say they could improve on as far as that goes is to make them more of the closing segments of the show. But I understand why they didn't do that the last 2 weeks because of the major angles that they ran. So that makes sense that they didn't make it at the end of the show for these last 2 weeks. But by next Monday, as they go into Crown Jewel for the go home show, they need to make it the main event segment to really sell it. But I do think overall, yes, considering that they are both the champions, both top guys and both in their prime, really, they should be treated as such as the centerpieces of the company as opposed to John Cena, who only has a few dates left, and Brock Lesnar especially, who's apparently going to be gone for another 4 months. Yeah, you don't need to be centering the whole show around people like that. It was cool 10 years ago when Vince was still around, when they were desperate for legends for WrestleMania and they needed to rely on the part-timers, but we are in a different era now, different phase now, and the full-timers, the ones that actually started this boom period again, like we talked about last week,
Yep.
those are the people you need to center around the show, especially if both of them are your main champions. There should be no other way you do it.
So my follow-up to that is it too little too late, or is it working? Do you think Seth and Cody have been damaged by how much focus that has been on John Cena, and my contention that Cena pretty much no-sold losing to Cody, no-sold that the belt meant anything to him once he lost it. I didn't want it anyway. Was sort of the message sent after he lost it, and he just decided to go, just be the babyface who's getting cheered and whatever, or getting destroyed by Brock. So do you watch Cody and Seth in the ring right now? And again, this isn't about the quality of the segment or where it's going next, just the presence of them in a long segment on Raw again tonight. Do you watch that and go, you know what? I buy that these are the top two stars. Or do you think because of how they've kind of been on a bumpy road this year, arguably, maybe you don't agree with that, that you're watching it and you're like, yeah, I'm not buying it. You should have been more consistent in telling me that these are the two stars defining this era and not sort of forget about them when some shiny new toy from the past shows up and graces you with his, almighty presence.
No, I don't think it's too late. I think there's still time. I do admittedly see Roman as that main guy from this era along with Cody than Seth Rollins. But since Seth Rollins is the champion right now, the top heel in the company, I do look at both of them as those two main guys. That has not changed at all, even though they may not be being promoted that way or treated that way. I still look at them as two of the main guys because they have two of the main titles. Mm-hmm. And with the story they have going into this match, there's going to be nothing bigger on that Crown Jewel show than that match. Not Roman Reigns returning, not John Cena and AJ Styles one last time. As great as those things are, Cody and Seth is the main event of that show. And to put any other match as the main event of Crown Jewel is not a good look. Even if it is Rhea Ripley, she's in her home country, all that. No, Cody, Seth, main event, end of story, and you need to continue to treat both of them that way and with that kind of respect for as long as both of them are champions.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. You kind of show your hand in where you think this match is going. Tell me what you think the finish is, and do you have a context in mind? It doesn't have to be super precise. Obviously, you're not fantasy booking and trying to predict, but just in a general sense, what is the story that they're going to tell at Crown Jewel between these two that then they have to follow up on and becomes part of history?
It's hard to say. I think it's definitely going to be a classic match. I think it's going to be a match of the year candidate like many of their past matches were. But like I said earlier when we first started, I think this is all leading to a Seth Rollins win. I don't know how. I don't know if he cheats. I don't know if he does something underhanded, or maybe Drew McIntyre comes and helps Seth Rollins win to get revenge on Cody. But either way, Seth Rollins, if he does not win this match, I don't know where he goes from here, because for how this is building, for the story they are telling, there was no other logical conclusion other than Seth Rollins winning and finally, getting that monkey off his back. And then after that, they could build to War Games. I think Cody will probably be occupied with Drew McIntyre again, but as far as Seth goes, they could build back to Seth and Roman again, and then Punk can get involved, and maybe Cena and Brock can get involved. They could do all that stuff. But especially if he's going to go into War Games as like the captain of his team, Seth Rollins needs to win a Crown Jewel, no other way.
I think it's important to note Cody and Seth are on separate brands. Neither of them is going to walk out without their championship. So this is going to be it, and this is how WWE does things. I mean, the biggest match they have next it is presented on television as the center of WWE, and that's fine. But sometimes I think there's a way to mitigate some of the there's some needless damage that comes with that when they focus at the exclusion of other things. That said, you bring up a good point. Once this match happens, that finish that you have with two opponents playing each other, the last game stings the most if you lose it, because you don't get to face him again perhaps until next season. That kind of has this vibe to it. This is a match. It's going to happen. There's the outcome, but then they both are still champ, and they both go, like you said, on separate paths. And so it's intriguing in that way, because it's different than normal matches where you expect there to be a feud. and you expect there to be rematches and follow up. And you can't rule that out, but I don't think it's likely given the scenario. Do you like this as an annual gimmick? We saw it at Survivor Series for a while. Now we're seeing at Crown Jewel, the two champs facing each other, because one consideration is, does it weaken one of the champions afterwards if they lose and don't have a chance to get revenge, but they still walk around with the belt?
I'll be honest with you, I don't like this idea. I don't like this gimmick. It was cool when they did it at Survivor Series for the first 2 years or so, but then it got played out real fast and it became uninteresting real fast. But with this case, it's a rare exception because of the past between Cody and Seth. So that's the biggest thing that's making this whole thing interesting. In addition to that, their star power, where they're both at in their careers now compared to when they feuded with each other 3 years ago, that also adds to the intrigue of this match. So this is the rare exception. This is the rare time where I'm actually excited and looking forward to this whole champion versus champion aspect. But if it were up to me, I would not be doing this on a regular basis. Maybe once every few years, but once a year as a yearly tradition. It kind of screams, okay, this PLE is missable. You're not missing anything if you don't watch it. So it is what it is if you don't watch it. So whenever it's a PLE, a major event, we don't want to have that feeling going into it. But with this case, it's a rare exception where they have a good enough story and they have that star power where it does feel like a big deal compared to those past champion versus champion matches where it will be cool on that night, but then the next day it doesn't mean anything. You forget about it. It's in the past. And yeah, there's no story you can tell beyond that. But right here in this scenario, this is one of the few times where I'm looking forward to it. And anything in the world will be better than what we saw at WrestlePalooza. So that's also another positive. So I'll take it.
L. Archer says in the chat, I think it's something to look forward to every year. I wish it had some other gimmick to it, like the winner gets the main event of Sunday's WrestleMania, like the All-Star Game in baseball. Give home field to the winner. They're given the ring. They're not really focusing on that. I'm okay with it being about the pride of this generation's top star. I think if you don't say it, it's better to just have people think it on their own. But if people aren't, if people are thinking that, it's good to underline it and emphasize it, that these are the two top current champions. The downside is you're drawing attention to the fact that you have two belts and you don't really have a singular champion. It draws attention to that because you don't have, at any time, because they have two world champions, you don't have a sense that there's ever that clear top tier champion. Now, Cody's belt is a more prestigious, and that plays into this. But, I guess, Seth almost has to win if you want to make any kind of case that he's in contention as the top star of this era. He's been steady. He said in the promo tonight, I don't go away when times are bad. I've seen us through tough times. I've been here consistently. That is kind of his, claim to the throne, whereas Cody is newer. He left WWE, eventually went to AEW, kind of co-founded it, and then came back. But Cody does feel like he's been more of a spark. Seth continues to kind of try to make his claim, yeah, but I've been here all along, and I'm the steady guy who's always here. I think if Seth loses, it does send a message. This title that Cody holds does truly represent who the best wrestler is, and Cody's a much bigger star. So you kind of have to, take that into consideration when you're booking the finish if you want to go there. There's all kinds of stories they can tell. If Seth lost, he can flip out. It can cause him to become, kind of like Bayley missing some PLEs. And all of a sudden she's having this internal conflict. You can use losses to drive a character's story to another level. But in this case, I don't know. I think it's going to be tough if they want people. I guess not everyone's going to be thinking about it like you, Kurt. Well, the logic is because of their record before and this and that, then this is going to be the finish. I think they're doing a good job creating a sense of this being a monumental matchup of the two current full-time guys.
Yeah, just too bad I'm going to be on vacation when Crown Jewel happens. I'm going to be in South Florida, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to wake up at 8 in the morning to watch it, but I will check it out at some point. Yeah, I'll say this much. I'm looking a lot more forward to the Crown Jewel this year compared to last year. I think overall the card they have is really solid between this match, the Cena and AJ match, the tag match with the women that was made official tonight, which we'll probably get into later. And obviously, I think Roman's probably going to get added to the card too in some way. I'm not sure how they're going to build that up. But yeah, Crown Jewel is looking pretty good. And the Australia setting on top of that, I think it'll definitely be one of the better PLEs. Hopefully they don't botch this one because they've kind of been doing that a lot this year.
Yeah, it's coming fast. Derek Mitchell says a premise of one match with two world champions in one company. Whoever wins is the best in the world and shaping the future is a tad bit hyperbole. Do you believe what Seth is talking about is too abstract. Saying I'm the vision and the winner is determining the future. A lot of Seth's whole gimmick of the visionary just has felt like kind of a word salad, a slogan. But what WrestleMania was built around, this match, the winner will determine the future. Are they doing enough to make it feel concrete and grounded in something tangible?
I think they're doing as good a job as they can to make it feel like a big deal. Seth Rollins, in all honesty, he does this all the time. There's like a big major match for the tag match last year with The Rock. He was saying stuff like, the future of this industry is on the line. We'll have no industry if we lose this match. And then even this year at WrestleMania, the triple threat, he was saying, this is the biggest triple threat of all time. This triple threat will determine the history of this business, who goes down as the best ever. So yeah, he does this all the time. It's cool. I mean, I get why he does it. You got to make the match feel like as big of a deal as possible. So yeah, I don't mind him doing that in that case. I mean, I don't believe him. I think it's a big exaggeration, but it's just what you have to do when you want to make the match feel like a big deal. And so far, this one does feel like a big deal. So it looks like they are doing something right. That's
the thing. I mean, what you want when you judge an angle is you don't want to judge. I mean, you want to judge the end result, but you have to. I think another way to judge it is, how did I feel about it before they started putting in the time on TV versus how do I feel now? If you were sort of, I don't know about this. I don't know if they can make me care about this. And by the end, they have you carrying a 7 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10. Well, that's not a failure, even if it's not 8, 9, or 10. And I think some people probably went into this going, Seth against Cody, champ versus champ. Shouldn't you save that? Because one of the benefits of having two champions on separate brands on separate tracks is it becomes a dream match. And if you don't spend it on a one-off like Crown Jewel for the Crown Jewel title, and you actually save it for when they're on the same brand and one is a champ and one is a challenger, you have that aspect of the novelty. This is the first time. They were two longtime champions. Now, wrestler X has lost his title. He's going after wrestler Y, who is champion. When Vince McMahon decades ago gave away Batista versus John Cena on a whim at a SummerSlam.
I was about to mention that. 2008.
Yeah, 2008. It's like it just took away something that felt like it was going to be a big match later, and on short notice put it out there, and it felt like it was. I mean, I'd have to go back and kind of immerse myself in it again, but if I recall right, it kind of came across like, oh, I haven't done my job as booker to come up with anything else. I'm just going to put the two champs against each other. But yeah, fill it in, Kurt.
Yeah, another issue with that match, it was the co-main event of that SummerSlam. It wasn't the main event.
Yeah.
The main event of that SummerSlam was The Undertaker and Edge, Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
And yeah, SummerSlam's a big event. I mean, I can't say I was mad at them doing. It's funny enough, I wasn't even watching at the time, but I went back to learn that about that period. And like they weren't really it didn't really feel like the right time. Yeah, it did feel a little rushed. If maybe they waited until that WrestleMania a year and a half later where they face each other, it would have felt like a bigger deal.
Right.
And hell, even at that WrestleMania wasn't the main event either. Yeah, it's kind of weird that they kind of pulled that on both of them.
Yeah. So as a rule, I like if you have two world titles, which WWE has had more often than not over recent decades, keep them apart and don't just have the turnkey quote dream match one-off for a special event. I'd rather they do other things. But going full circle, I think they've done a nice job. I care more about this match and feel like it's coming across as a bigger deal than I would have predicted 2 weeks ago. And I think that's a positive, even if you don't love it. I think they have made more progress than expected in terms of setting this up as feeling like a big deal and making me believe that Cody and Seth care.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said before, more excited about this match than I thought I would have been at first. Yep. It kind of reminds me of the John Cena, Nikki Bella, Miz and Maurice match from WrestleMania a few years ago, where like when I first heard they were doing that match, I'm like, you're going to waste John Cena's WrestleMania match on this? Are you serious?
Yeah.
It's reality TV BS. But then with the build and the story they told going into that match, by the time I got to WrestleMania, that was the match I was looking forward to the most.
I didn't see that coming, but that's a good example. I mean, I appreciate you backing up kind of my point. It's like you want to judge stuff on how far along they take you from your starting point more than the end point. And if you can end at a good place, and even if you didn't start in a good place, however you look at it, that's a victory for the booker and the wrestlers involved in terms of their performances. A couple other comments, and then we'll hit some other topics, of course, from tonight's episode. Darrell Freeman in the chat says, I like the story they're telling with Seth and Cody. They did what Wade said they need to do, which is have them, you film them like they are responding to each other. Like they're showing them what they're saying to them. Sadler version 3 says, I think Cody was more damaged than Seth this year because of the John Cena feud, but he's been getting his crowd reactions back lately. Do you agree with that, by the way? Is Cody seem fine?
Yeah, Cody's good. I mean, he's probably been more busy like with outside projects in WWE. Like I saw his cameo in the Naked Gun movie, which was great, by the way. Also filming Street Fighter. Didn't have the title as long this year compared to last year and was out for a while. So yeah, it's not the same as 2024 Cody, but I still think he's fine. He's the top guy. He's still the top guy. They're pretty much their face. So even if he's not having as strong of a year this year compared to last year, I wouldn't worry too much.
Brock Benningfield in the chat says, I think they're getting back on track with Cody being the focus. Darrell adds, I like how they're framing Cody and Seth as the top two guys. This reframing is helping both guys and WWE storytelling too, and having them fight for being the ace of the company. Sometimes it's how you position them that counts as much as how they're actually positioned. It's just where do you position them, and this is, in a way, I think the right time, a good time to be doing this, because it just really does. And we can talk, does Crown Jewel need to exist? Are there too many PLEs? Should they have had something else ready? Would they have been better with a Cody, a Cody rematch against Drew by now? I mean, you can't really judge all that to kind of see the pace of everything going on, but they're getting something. I think they're getting something good out of this. Mark Paschetti steps back and says, Paul Levesque's booking got derailed for WrestlePalooza. His storytelling is diminishing in its returns. Seth and Cody should feel way bigger than this. I really question how smart doing this match is. He adds, Cody is not the centerpiece anymore. Triple H's booking is serving too many masters. Derek Hubbard says, I believe the finish will be tainted with Drew interference. I assume Cody and Drew is far from over. What do you think about that, Kurt? Is this match going to have a clean finish, or is it a naive question to ask? Of course not, because both have to be champions coming out of it with credibility. So whoever loses, there'll be something that taints it.
If I had to bet money on it, I would say we don't get a clean finish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that issue with Drew and Cody, there's no way in hell it's over. If it is, WWE, it really needs to be studied for how bad their booking is falling off. So yeah, I don't think that's over. And even with the Vision being involved and all that, I think deep down, even though there's a chance it could end, fair and square, I think if you're smart, you put your money on there being outside interference in the outcome of the match.
Yeah. Derek Mitchell says, I think they're trying to sell the Cody Seth match as momentous, even though they haven't emphasized the importance of the world title on both shows. Mark Paschetti says this match is weakening both champions, is exposing how not over they are as top acts and draws. There's a risk there. I don't think that's happening, but it's a subjective opinion by both of us. Darrell says, I don't think Drew will interfere because he's got to worry about Jacob Fatu. Yeah, I mean, that'd have to be a one-off then, if they, in a short feud, if Drew suddenly goes after Cody again. It's hard to do both at once.
Yeah, I mean, the Jacob Fatu and Drew thing, they could probably do it like maybe on a SmackDown or something, maybe the SmackDown before Crown Jewel, just blow it off there. It's actually nice to see Jacob Fatu on TV for a change. He disappeared pretty much after SummerSlam. So yeah, I mean, I'm cool with that feud just being temporary, because I think there is a lot to be told between Cody and Drew, and even Randy Orton. They could get Randy Orton involved there also, and they could do something maybe at Survivor Series. So yeah, I would definitely expect to see maybe some Drew McIntyre shenanigans going on at Crown Jewel.
Yep. Another comment here. Kavanti Small says the booking for Crown Jewel has been incredibly weak. The only match that has heat and not thrown together is Io and Rhea against the Kabuki Warriors. So there we have it. All right, let's. I want to move on to other topics here. The chat, you're obviously welcome to continue to chime in with your thoughts as you have been. But we got a lot more to talk about from this episode. But first things first, and you know what? I am going to talk one more thing about this promo in just a second, which is, and it ties into something else, which is Cody saying, Seth, are you really making the decisions? I think that's, besides building the match, that's a big moment. And then we had it followed up on before the main event at Gorilla. So we'll get into that next. And then we'll get to completely new topics after that. This is the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show for Monday, September 29th, 2025. I'm Wade Keller, host of the show, editor, publisher, and founder of the Pro Wrestling Torch weekly newsletter, a paper copy edition being sent around the world since the late 1980s. I also am the editor and writer and publisher of PWTorch.com, our main website, with daily updates, live coverage on major events throughout the weekend, and weekday news coverage, flashbacks, polls that you can vote in, my live TV coverage, comprehensive coverage of pro wrestling. Check it out, PWTorch.com. And I also host the Wade Keller Post Shows, following Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown. By the way, shout out to Kelly Wells for hosting for me last Friday. I was at my son's play, The Importance of Being Earnest, and he played Algernon and did a great job. So I was not able to, I wanted to go to the play. So Kelly was able to step in. So thanks, Kelly, for that. But I am back hosting tonight, and I'll be back after Dynamite and SmackDown if all goes as planned, as we always say. But you can also watch our NXT post show on our YouTube channel on Tuesday nights, and you can listen to all of them on our podcast network. To get all of our podcasts, just search Wade Keller and subscribe to the red logo and blue logo shows, and then search PWTorch to subscribe to the PWTorch Daily Cast and also the VIP free sample feed. That's kind of a charcoal gray logo. And in fact, if you're an iPhone user and you're using the native podcast app from Apple, you can actually unlock all our VIP shows within the app using your Apple account. It's seamless, frictionless as it gets. Just download that PWTorch VIP free sample app on your phone in the App Store or in the Apple Podcast apps in the Apple Podcast Store. It's not an app. And then you can unlock from there and get everything, including commercial free. The commercial breaks are skipped over. You don't have to worry about those when you're a VIP member. PWTorch.com/GoVIP is the way to get details on a full VIP membership. Also subscribing through Patreon or Spotify. All kinds of pathways and options to unlock VIP content. It's all laid out clearly. PWTorch.com/GoVIP. But we are, yeah, and so, by the way, these shows stream live on YouTube on our PWTorch channel. So you can search PWTorch or Wade Keller on YouTube and watch us live a few minutes after Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown end. I'm hosting on Tuesday nights after NXT, and then on weekends also after PLEs. So we live stream on YouTube, but then it gets distributed to our big audience over in the podcast realm, which we've been doing for, well over 2 decades. We've been doing podcasts, over 15 years, distributing them for free. And so hello to everybody on the podcast side of things. Welcome. You're invited to join us live if it ever works in your schedule. But otherwise, hello to all of you, and we appreciate you supporting us. But we're here talking Raw, and Kurt Cadet, a PWTorch contributor, is my co-host again, doing a back-to-back weeks. A rarity, but Kurt, it's great to have you back. I know your schedule is sometimes tough to fit you in, so I wanted to take advantage of this Monday night to also have you back. Welcome. Good to have you. Tell people what you do for the Torch.
Well, I currently write weekly reviews for Monday Night Raw, which I'll be writing again this week. And also I do a podcast called Catching the Culture along with Christopher Adams, where we talk about different movies and wrestling storylines or events that happen around the same time and how they connect with each other. So check out for that show as well. Also co-host a show called Clash of Champions. But yes, those are my main contributions to PWTorch. And yeah, I'm just here to talk to you guys tonight about what happened on Raw, the good, the bad, and everything in between.
Sounds excellent. All right. So I brought up that, I almost shifted. WadeKellerPodcast@gmail.com if you want to email us, if that's easier, especially if you're not watching us live, but you want to be part of the show. You can also join us in the chat and check out my TV report at PWTorchVIP.com covering Raw if you want a link to be a live caller. We got CJ, Bayley's #1 fan, or one of the top fans. I'd say #1. I mean, there's some people contend he's not, that he's #2. But we'll bring him on in a few minutes. But you can get in line if you want to be a caller too. All right. So Kurt, Cody says, Seth, everything goes through you, huh? Seth goes, yeah, every decision goes through me. And he's like, so Brock Lesnar coming back, that ran through you. And Seth seemed agitated and unconvincing when he said, yeah, he was part of it. What do you make of it? Are we to believe, yeah, Heyman runs everything by Seth, or it was Seth's idea? Or do you think Seth has this pride that he can't admit that some things are happening outside of his control, despite presenting himself for the most part as the leader of the vision, with Paul Heyman as sort of a co-pilot, but not the main pilot?
I could see the second scenario playing out. I could even see, Brock Lesnar even being on Seth Rollins' team at War Games. That could be planting the seed for that in the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, that was an interesting line. I think that might have been the highlight of the whole segment besides the ending of it. So, yeah, I definitely think there's going to be something that's going to be revisited from that line in the next coming weeks between Rollins, between Heyman. I don't know when we're going to see Brock again, because I'm hearing Brock's not going to be back until Royal Rumble. So if that's the case, we won't see him at Survivor Series. But one way or another, yeah, that is not something they planted for no reason. I think that's definitely something they revisit down the line. And if it's just something that they just did randomly and they don't revisit it, then shame on them.
Where does it all go? Paul Levesque books where sometimes, faces are, baby faces face other faces, heels face heels. It's sort of a pick 'em. We had it with Dominic and Rusev tonight.
Yeah.
So is there a chance that Seth and Lesnar fight and they both stay heel, or I don't know. There's so many possibilities here, because you got Braun Breaker in there also as a as somebody who I think is going to end up facing both Seth and Lesnar at some point, but I don't know in what order. I don't know the circumstances, and I don't have a strong feeling on who the face or heel will be. So a lot of moving parts here. How do you think it plays out, and how did tonight shape your view of how it plays out?
I think it eventually plays out with a possible match between Cody and Brock again, because I think I remember Cody mentioning Brock Lesnar last week, so I could see them revisiting that down the road. Oh yeah, Cody and Heyman had a segment together on Friday on SmackDown. That's where Cody had mentioned Lesnar. So I could see this leading to like another Cody and Lesnar match again, possibly at the Royal Rumble. And it's going to be interesting to see how this spans out, because with Rollins being attached to Heyman, and now Heyman being kind of like buddy with Brock again. So yeah, there's a lot they could do with this in the next few months. I can't really say for sure where it ends up, but overall, I definitely see, like what you said last week, Braun Breaker eventually defeating Brock Lesnar, and that really puts him on the map. That's possibly could be what we see at WrestleMania. Wouldn't be against that.
I think there's a lot of possibilities for WrestleMania. I'm not quite ready to start making predictions. I think we've got to see how the next month or two go and how things shape out in terms of the pace of matches they're saving and where things are pointing. But a lot of options. Brock Benningfield says, Heyman, Brock, and the Bronze turn on Seth. That's his prediction. Can Seth become a babyface with Becky also, or regardless of that?
No.
Yeah.
And he can't become a babyface again until he loses to CM Punk. I think that feud, whenever it does end, whenever they do the final match, Punk needs to beat him, and then after that you can explore that, because that's kind of why Rollins turned heel in the first place, because of his issues with Punk. So it'll be only natural if he does become babyface again that it comes after Punk beats him.
All right, let's shift to Rusev and Dominic. Not necessarily the top story otherwise on the show, but I think a fun one to talk about. I can tell you agree, Kurt. It was interesting. Sean Dennehy in the chat goes, nowhere near the top story of the night, but Rusev versus Dom was just plain fun to watch. Kurt, tell me what you thought.
Well, even though it was a heel versus heel match, the crowd in Raleigh tonight did not treat it that way, because Dominic was treated like royalty tonight by Raleigh. Yeah, it was crazy to see how great of a reaction he got, even though he didn't change anything about his character. He was doing the exact same stuff he would do in any other city, but they still loved him, and that was definitely something to notice. I really enjoyed this match for a heel versus heel match. I'm usually not a fan of them, but this is one of the few occasions where I think it really worked, and everybody played their part well. I really thought Dominic was going to win by DQ when he did the Eddie Guerrero trick, but then the match ended up going, and then when he won that match, you would have thought the North Carolina football team or the basketball team had won the NCAA title with the reaction he got. Yeah, it was crazy to see the amount of love that Dominic got. He could definitely be a babyface eventually at some point, but I think he's just too good at being a heel, even if you do cheer for him to fully turn, at least now.
They do have him wrestling as a heel. I mean, he's not playing to the crowd, not acting like he wants their cheers. He's cheating, but he's cheating in an Eddie Guerrero way too. So it's crowd is rooting for him in that sense, but they're being cute about it. I mean, there's a coyness to Dom being the same character despite fans starting to cheer him, and I don't think it's an accident they put him against Rusev. This was more about, I was curious about how Rusev and Dom, how the match would go and how we felt afterwards. And it's what I expected, but I wasn't sure, which is Rusev was just a player to tell a Dom story more than it's a story about Rusev. How do you feel about how Rusev came across in this? Do you think he was a pawn in needing they got to fill 2.5 hours of TV on Raw every Monday night, and they are experimenting a bit to see crowd reactions, but this was mostly about testing Dom's popularity against an established heel.
I think they're going to run this back again at some point, because of the way Rusev lost tonight. He lost in a way where he's going to want revenge, and he wasn't really defeated decisively. So I definitely see them running this back, maybe at Crown Jewel or maybe on Raw a few weeks later. Yeah, what I saw tonight showed me that this is not over. Regardless of Rusev losing tonight, what happened tonight showed me that they're going to continue this, and I'm fine with it. It's like a fine little temporary feud. It's not something you're going to see lasting for 6 months at a time, but it'll be cool for the next few weeks or so, however long it lasts. But eventually, I'd like to see Dominic drop that title to either Finn, because he's the one who he beat for it, or possibly Sheamus if they ever go back to telling that story.
Yeah, what is Rusev's place in WWE right now. What is his potential upside? He's, basically the same age as Seth and Cody, but despite going to AEW and then coming back, they're not treating him as a huge deal, but they're also protecting him somewhat. I mean, he didn't lose clean tonight. I don't have a read on how they feel about Rusev, but I don't think that they're protecting him to be a WrestleMania main eventer. I don't get that sense, but they're also not treating him as just like a guy who they're going to just job out either. So I think it remains to be seen, or revealed is maybe a better way to put it, what they see in him. Because, in AEW, he's just kind of off in the Russoverse doing his own thing. And in WWE, I mean, do you kind of think that is the extent of it? He's just going to be, off to the side doing other stuff and popping in for a match here and there like tonight, but there'll never be like a major storyline around him with a true top guy? Or do you think that's in the plans at some point next year or later this year?
I could see him having a feud with Cody or Roman Reigns at some point. Do I think he'll win that feud? Probably not, but I could see him like being in that mix where he does get a title shot at the PLE. Yeah, I think his position is probably like the killer, like the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the monster killer who just runs through all the competition, runs through the smaller opponents until he eventually finds an opponent his own size, and then he finds a way to beat that opponent too. So yeah, I feel like that's where his ceiling is, and he could like definitely be in that championship mix, but I don't see him becoming WWE champion or really main eventing WrestleMania. Not to that level, but I could see him like, being in the main event of an Elimination Chamber PLE or something along those lines. I could see that happening at some point, but I feel like where he's at now is just about fine. I don't think it's a bad place to be in, even though he's not like really a main eventer like that. But I think ever since he's been back so far, it's been solid compared to the other people from AEW who jumped ship to WWE recently. I feel like he's doing better compared to the rest of them. So far, so good. Tonight, I think was one of his better matches as far as matches on Raw, other than the ones with Sheamus. But from what I saw so far, I do hope they continue this feud with Dominic, because yeah, it's too entertaining to just put it to bed right now.
Yeah. Bunch of comments in the chat on both Rusev and Dom. Let's get to them here. Eric Moy says, this is another chapter in... Oh, sorry. I meant to not start there. Darrell Freeman says, tonight in the match with Dom and Rusev, even with what Dom did, it didn't lower Rusev. It really brought more attention to him. And now people want to see more of him now, right afterwards. Yeah, I mean, I hope that match works that way. I think Rusev's talented. I don't think they should define him as someone who can't work against the top guy at some point. Also, let's see. Brock Bennyfield, that's coming I want to look for here. They could have made Rusev a monster for Cody to defeat.
He still can be. That's
what I was going to say. Can they still? I mean, sometimes if you hover long enough, people just see you at a certain point. But Rusev, it feels like it's more been kind of simmering, but ready to take on new life. When he declared he wanted a title, and now he's going after Dom, that is a different place than Rusev had been, and just kind of off to the side with Sheamus and whatever else.
I kind of wanted to see him feud with Penta for a little bit. They did that match a few weeks ago, but now it looks like it was just a one-off. So yeah, him and Penta feuding for a little while would be fun, because anything on God's green earth would be better than seeing Penta go against New Day and Grayson Waller for the 1,000th time. But I guess they don't want to do that right now. So like I said, as far as Rusev goes, yeah, he could definitely be in the main event mix, but not necessarily be like a main event top draw.
Sadler Vision 3 said regarding Dom, his future is basically Eddie Guerrero 2.0, where the cheating endears him to the crowd even more.
I was thinking about that tonight, like when I watched the match. I remember when Eddie and Chavo were first doing that Los Guerreros, like lie, cheat, and steal storyline. Yep. They never really did anything really to officially turn babyface, but the things they would do to cheat were so entertaining and so funny that the crowd couldn't really root against them. So It kind of eventually happened naturally. So Dominic, whenever he does turn babyface, I think it'll be a similar thing.
Derek Hubbard says Dom has come a long way. I still think he can improve on some aspects of his game. He needs to work on his kickouts and long-term selling after he initially registers pain. Moreover, he can bulk up. Do you think Dom needs to bulk up? There's people, especially people who look like Derek, who spend a lot of time in the gym. And I know wrestlers who are like this. If you spend a lot of time in the gym, you look at wrestlers who don't, and you think, come on, get in the gym. I don't know if that is essential. And in fact, I think sometimes it can be a feature, not a flaw, if you look different than somebody who's genetically predisposed to benefit from a lot of time in the gym and whatever else it takes to get those muscles. How important is that for Dom? Does it take actually something away from him? Would it seem inauthentic if he suddenly just, started getting as thick as Big E or something like that? Like, I don't even know if he could make that happen.
I don't want to see that happen.
No.
Yeah, I think the way he looks now works perfectly for his character, because he's like a slimy, like grimy, I guess you could say, heel, or like just cheat and use like any tactic he can to win. So like in that regard, he doesn't need to be some like big muscular dude like the British Bulldog or the Warlord or anything like that. Yeah, he's fine the way he looks. I mean, obviously with his luck with women, he's got to be doing something right, so he doesn't really need to work on his muscles to pull girls. So yeah, I think definitely as far as he goes, the way he looks is perfect, and he doesn't really need to do anything to alter that. If he wants to put on more muscle mass for his own sake, that's cool, but I don't think he necessarily needs to. I'd like to think by 2025 we've gotten away from that kind of attitude where everybody has to be big, everybody has to be a certain size. So with Dominic in that case, I think he's fine the way he is.
Derek Mitchell says, I think Jake Roberts and Barry Windham made a career being lean guys, not muscle guys. Dom's not really tall and lean, though. He's just, I don't know, Dom. He's a mid-sized guy who doesn't have a lot of tone. You'll agree with this, Kurt, for all kinds of reasons. Chicken nuggies ain't helping, says Adam Kidd. Gotta get on the tofu, get some good protein.
You can eat the Beyond Nuggets.
Well, yeah. Although I'll take tofu over. I like Beyond Nuggets, but I take them in a second over McNuggets. But I like the lesser processed food of tofu, and it just soaks up so much flavor so well.
I get it.
Yeah. But yeah, dipping crunchy nuggets in barbecue sauce is nostalgia food for me too. It's comfort food. All right. But yeah, chicken nuggets are not a health food and not a good gym food with the bad carbs and fat that occupy a lot of the calories there. All right, enough on that. Adam Kidd does say Dom needs to tighten up for sure. I mean, he did add that, and I mean that's the thing. There's definitely a happy medium between being Davey Boy Smith circa 94 or whatever, and just looking more like he's a serious athlete. Training. Sadler Vision 3 goes in his current gear. He doesn't need to, but if he goes in traditional gear, then it would help him to look more legit. You do wonder, will there be a point where he's confident enough? And I'm assuming part of it is it wouldn't be flattering for him to just be in wrestling trunks. Like most of, he's not going to wear CM Punk trunks out there. But part of his look it's not so much that it's hiding his physique as much as it's part of his overall look to have that gear. I don't know. Do you expect that to ever change?
I can't see it. Yeah, as long as he's been wrestling in like, a top and pants and boots. Yeah, I can't see him like wearing Hulk Hogan like tights or CM Punk like tights. That'd be really weird.
I'd like to poll wrestlers on if they prefer, setting aside everything, just the preference of what it's like to wrestle when you're covered up, because you heat up more, like you're covered up, and so it's got to wear on you cardio wise to not have your skin breathe. It's like on a hot day, it's better to be in a swimsuit than a 3-piece suit, but at the same time, you're not hitting the ropes, you're not getting you're not getting a canvas burn. I'm curious what the pros and cons are. If wrestlers are like, there's some good in both, or if there's a clear favorite among active wrestlers where they really prefer to be in just the minimal trunks, just for breathability, in the cooling factor, or if no, it'd be nice to cover up more so you have less skin abrasions and whatever else. All right, let's see. Derek Mitchell says, I think there's a consensus now that Dom is a future top guy, and we should enjoy his journey right now. I'm all for that. I'm not going to argue with that one. Darrell says, every week I come on here leading the way, saying how Dom is working himself into one of the top 3 guys. He's looking like the guy who can take over. Is that too much, Kurt? The guy who should the conversation be about Dom being the guy who's going to be the next guy after Seth and Cody? He's about 10 years younger than them. Is Dom really in that conversation along with Braun Breaker and whoever else you would have in that group?
I think we talked about this last week. Yes, he is.
Yeah.
From the crowd reactions, the amount of segments he's in every week, how far his star has risen in the last 3 years, ever since he turned heel. Yeah, he's definitely in that conversation. I definitely see him becoming WWE champion within the next 5 years or so, along with Braun Breaker. He'll definitely be in that mix. I see like Braun Breaker and Dominic in a sense is like what John Cena and Batista were before they became the top guys. I could definitely see the situation where it happens with the two of them. Dominic is just too good as a character and like just too what's the word I'm looking for? Just too much of a difference maker. Yeah, too much of a difference maker on the show to not be a top guy. So yeah, it's inevitable. Sooner or later he's going to be in that mix.
Adam Kidd says he has spindly arms. LOL. All right. Al Archer says he puts a lot of thought into his gear. Everything represents something. He goes crazy deep into it. There is that, like we set aside, like what does a wrestler prefer? Is he trying to hide his physique? You can tell stories with your boots and your elbow pads and, wrestling trunks, but you can tell more of a story with how much Dom wears. What do you think of that aspect of it? They're kind of Easter eggs. They don't draw a lot of attention to it. Well, they draw some attention to it on commentary, but sometimes you got to look online to see what he's doing.
Yeah, I like how he does the throwbacks to Eddie Guerrero outfits, like, Eddie Guerrero related stuff. So I think that definitely stands out about it. Yeah, I've always liked his ring gear for the most part. It definitely complements the kind of character he is. But I think he'll probably at some point like do some kind of thing with his ring gear where he has like 4 different hearts on his tights to represent all the different girls he's gotten with, from Rhea, Liv, probably Roxanne Perez at some point, and his actual wife.
Yep. Derek Mitchell says, I've said it before, Dom is a combo of the Love Machine, Art Bar, and Eddie Guerrero. If folks aren't familiar with the Love Machine, I'd suggest Google him and watch his matches. Absolutely. Have you watched much of Love Machine, Art Bar, Kurt?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I'd recommend it. I'd be interested in what you think. He and Eddie were something special, and Eddie picked up a lot.
Oh, when Eddie Guerrero was in that tag, I think that he passed away,
early 90s.
right?
Yep.
Okay, I remember.
Yeah.
I know of it. I didn't watch a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, so. It's to get a complete picture of Eddie Guerrero and now Dom, you almost have to look at some vintage Love Machine Art Bar footage. He was phenomenal.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah. Derek Hubbard says, at the beginning of my wrestling career, I found that baby oil was a killer when it came to overheating. Oil does not let your body breathe. I am down with baby oil. Nasty stuff. So I guess, yeah, you can be in wrestling trunks, but if you're baby oiled up, you're not going to cool off easily there. And Durrell says, you know what? People really work out in the gym, no matter how many weights you lift. Some people's bodies just can't add weight on them like that. And of course, there's genetics, but I think you can also say, well, I don't have the genetics to look that way, so I'm not even going to try, and then you never end up toned. I mean, anybody can get some biceps if they work out, have a little bit of muscle definition, even if ultimately you're not going to look like Davey Boy or Austin Theory or John Cena or whoever. Right. I want to pull something else up here. L. Archer, these are fighting words. And I want to get back to Rusev in a bit, but these are fighting words for us, Kurt. L. Archer says, tofu is terrible. I know you have limited options, but there has to be better.
You should come to my house for dinner and talk about my limited options.
Yeah. And by the way, tofu is amazing. Just honestly, I'm serious about it. Look up a YouTube video from people with tofu recipes. You don't eat, like, bacon is not smoke flavored until you smoke it. Okay. It's not like, the meat that comes off of these animals. You're not dipping in barbecue sauce and slathering with ketchup and mustard, dipping in steak sauce, adding salt and pepper and seasoning. You're adding a ton of stuff to meat to give it flavor. And that's what you do with tofu. If you have bad tofu, it's like eating, plain. Yeah. Well, there's bad versions of everything, but I mean, you can have bad pork chops if you don't have seasoning. So, it's a distant memory for me now, but yeah, tofu is amazing. I could go out for 5 minutes and I'm going to limit myself a little bit here, but there are so many seasonings that you marinate. I'm marinating, tofu strips, in the fridge, and I'm going to throw it in the dehydrator and it turns into tofu jerky, which is phenomenal.
Oh my God, that sounds great.
Soak it in barbecue sauce, teriyaki sauce, buffalo sauce, General Tso. And what's the other one I did today? Like A1 steak sauce. You can do it all that, dehydrate it, throw it in a Ziploc, carry it around. That's your low carb, protein, minimally processed snack that you can take anywhere on a road trip. But seriously, like tofu air fried with a little oil and some coating on it, and then or marinating it in sauce, stir frying it. Tofu scrambles.
I make those for breakfast like once a week.
Do you add the Himalayan salt to give it the egg flavor?
Sometimes, yeah. I add mushrooms, onions, spinach. Yeah, but I add everything. I make pancakes with it too.
Yep, great. The silken tofu is great for an Alfredo sauce. You add some garlic to it, and nutritional yeast, some salt, some pepper, a little soy milk if you want. just it heated up, poured on pasta. I mean, and with parsley or whatever. I mean, it's so good. There's so many ways to use tofu, and I've learned in my decades of eating primarily a vegan diet, all the different ways to do it. And the whole soy boy thing has been so scientifically disproven. You come across as an utter fool if you ever say that phrase, unless it's just to be annoying. Because the whole thing about that has been scientifically and definitively disproven. All right, I probably hit 5 minutes there. I shouldn't do that. All right,
all good.
Yeah. Well, I know you're my audience for it. Nobody else would put up with it as a co-host, but you're with me on it. All right. So some stuff on Rusev. Adam Kidd said Rusev is a gatekeeper enhancement talent. Adam Kidd says slightly better than Lance Archer. He's definitely better than Lance Archer. Lance Archer gets a win, and you wonder why. And then half a week later on Dynamite, he loses to someone who's getting a push, and you go, "Oh, that's why he got the win," because they decided they're going to give him a win on Collision, so they have something to talk about on Dynamite. That generically speaking is kind of a pattern over on AEW with him.
I haven't watched Collision in forever.
Yes. Derek says Rusev challenging for the IC title. Why isn't he interested in becoming the world champ? I guess LA Knight and CM Punk are the only men competitors who have a desire to be world champ. I think Rusev just takes whatever's available at the time. I don't look at it as him settling. He's just like, I'll win a title. And if it's understood, you win the IC or US title before you start talking about a world title. If you're at a level of where Rusev is, and he's not a former WrestleMania main eventer or ex-world champion type guy who can just march up and go, storyline wise, just march into Adam Pearce or Nick Aldis's office and go give me a world title match. He's the type who has to earn it in storyline. So I'm fine with him going, I'm going to start by knocking off Dom.
Yeah, he said he wanted a title. He didn't say exactly what title he wanted. So, but right now he's going after the IC title.
Yep. Right. And yeah, I'll stop there on the Rusev thing. Let's bring CJ LaChapelle in because we had a big week with Bayley. I'm also see a small little thumbnail image of CJ who looks like he got a haircut. So let's take a look at this too. CJ, you ready for us? Yeah, he's getting ready. In position here. CJ, welcome.
What's up?
What's going on?
Look at that haircut.
You like it?
I do. Yeah. It's. I mean, nobody can pull off what you have had in the past. It looks like you just went for a job interview. So you lose a little of your personality, but it's still a heck of a head of hair. So anyway, yes. So yeah, what do you think of what they did with Bayley tonight? There was a lot going on. I'm curious to hear from Kurt too.
I am loving it. At first, it was interesting with Lyra kind of telling Bayley off, but I had a feeling it was gonna happen the way it did. I still think Bayley should have went over, but she was standing at the end, so it's all good. Do you think it would be too quick for Lyra and Bayley to do something together at Crown Jewel?
Yes.
That's only just over a week away.
Way too soon. Yeah, way too soon to do that match. Yeah. For how they're building it so far, they're kind of like still friends, but there's like a lot of tension going on. And Crown Jewel's like less than 2 weeks away. Crown Jewel's already going to have probably 5 matches already. Yeah, it's too soon.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. Go ahead,
So do you think, how far do you think they will go with this? Do you see Bayley and Lyra potentially going for the tag titles together, or?
Yeah, Kurt's nodding along with me. Here? Yeah, I mean, that seems like the right thing to do. Obviously, Lyra's going to be leery, understandably so. She'd be a fool not to be.
At least for the first few weeks, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they can do a lot of things with that. I mean, everyone's going to be on edge, Kurt, with Bayley, because I mean, Anyway, go ahead, Kurt.
Yeah, the one thing I said about Bayley tonight, from what I saw in that segment, that woman cannot be trusted. Yeah, her and Lyra will eventually, I guess, become cooler as the weeks go on, and then challenge Charlotte and Alexa for the tag titles, and they will lose that match. And after they lose that match, Bayley's going to do to Lyra what she did to Sasha Banks 5 years ago when they split up. She is going to beat the hell out of her to the point where she gets taken out in an ambulance, and we don't see Lyra for however long. To be honest, I'm starting to think that they could maybe stretch the story all the way to WrestleMania next year if they play the cards right.
I do too. Yeah, I don't think there's any rush here. I thought Bayley played it well when she looked at Lyra at the end, and Lyra's like sitting down against the ropes, looking worried as Bayley comes towards her. You can read Bayley's expression multiple ways, and Bayley goes, "You got him! Get up, you idiot! Good job!" I thought the choice of wording and the delivery was good because Lyra, it works for Lyra to want Bayley's acceptance because we've watched Lyra with our own eyes pine for the acceptance of the fan base. And she's not always getting it. So there's a kind of a baked-in insecurity in her character, which is outgoing. I'm nice, but not everybody likes me. And it's like with Bayley, she's like this veteran. She looks up to her, and she wants to trust her and be mentored by her. But obviously, Bayley is, battling issues right now of insecurity and thoughts on different approaches to take and temperament issues that they're playing up. Obviously, for Lyra, she's trying to decide. I really want to think good at Bayley, but I have to be on guard for the bad. And I think you can tell that story over time. CJ. Oh, Kurt, you want to add something?
Yeah. I mean, her losing tonight was a little strange. I figured they would have kept her winning streak going, but it is what it is. Roxanne and Raquel still need to be kept strong going forward. So yeah, it was fine for what it was. Tonight was kind of a nice continuation of what they're doing with it. So yeah, they can take their time with it. There's no real rush to have Bayley like fully turn. So yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing so far.
And obviously the rake of the eyes contributed to her losing, Roxanne raking her eyes.
Right.
So they, in the way WWE books, the signal to the fans is this doesn't mean that Raquel's better than Bayley. It just means that
no,
she
she's
didn't
not.
win. What else?
She has improved though.
Yeah, she has.
Yeah.
She's not bad.
Yeah.
I have a couple questions. First, do you think there's still, again, even if it's a one-off, do you still think there's a chance I get the full return of the hugger at some point?
What do you think, Kurt?
Maybe as like a one-off thing, like there's a one night only type thing. But as far as her,
they gotta go all the way with it though. The old entrance music, everything.
Yeah, maybe for one night,
everything.
For one night, but I don't see them doing it like full time again. I think that ship is sailed.
I think it could last a couple weeks at least.
I feel like it was kind of a product of its time, which is like a decade already. It was already a decade ago. So yeah, I feel like going back to it permanently, I don't think it could work in 2025.
Ryan Solorio in the chat says Lyra has experience with crazy because of Tatum Paxley. LOL. Derek Mitchell said, we've seen this 100 times with these oddball couples. Stone Cold and Dude Love, The Rock and Mankind, X-Pac and Kane, Booker T and Goldust, Daniel Bryan and Kane. They need to add layers each week between the two. I think there's potential here. I don't think they need to rush it. But having Bayley go like full-on hugger character could be a chapter in it, but it also might be something she just does every now and then as sort of a nod to the past, but they don't play it up like she's sort of reverted or I don't want to say regress, but gone back in time full on to the hugger. I think it'll just be in her arsenal of things she does depending on her mood.
I feel you. And even if they do it while she's with Lyra, do you see them potentially bringing AJ into the mix? Because again, she kind of has a crazy gimmick as well.
I don't think this Bayley character.
They might bring Dr. Shelby in. I know you're not the biggest fan of that, Wade, but
we don't need to see us go back to that. We don't need to see that again.
I think it would diminish. I think it would diminish from it. It'd make it too slapsticky. But like you said, my view on that. I think to me, that stuff comes across as the writers wanting to write sketch comedy instead of keeping their eye on what draws money in pro wrestling. And I think fans and viewers are allowed to be amused by it and enjoy it. But I don't think it's good tone-wise for trying to be serious otherwise. I know we're talking pro wrestling and they do all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm not saying everything else is okay and that's the one exception, but I just think in general there's a downside that comes with it. And also it just then sometimes it becomes more about Dr. Shelby than it does about the story, and people are like, oh my God, the nostalgia of this. And I think there's better ways to tell the story than looking like the writers just can't help or the wrestlers themselves can't help but be part of some fun little, throwback sketch. But it doesn't feel real. And right now, Kurt, I think one thing that's working with Bayley and Lyra is it feels in the WWE realm. It feels legit. Like I buy Bayley with what she's gone through being torn in multiple directions internally. And I buy Lyra wanting her approval, but also being understandably leery. If now they go and just do a comedy routine, I mean, I think it just sort of turns it into a yuck it up.
I do not want to see that happen. Yeah, no way.
Good point.
Yeah.
You always have to be right, don't you? I'm kidding.
Yes, I do. No. Yes, Kurt does. Okay. Ryan Solari goes, we don't need Dr. Shelby.
Thank you.
Another vote for that.
So I think you win.
Some criticism of there's some criticism of Lyra's acting and her facial expressions in the chat. There's another one I can't find, but Sadler goes, the overacting was absurd in the locker room segment a few weeks ago, and I'm a Lyra fan. Kurt, I mentioned it, that Lyra feels like, she's trying hard to be accepted and leery of looking foolish. But how do you feel about her acting? Is it overdone? Is there something that she could be doing differently in the story to get it over? I mean, I think it's working. Ryan Solari goes, Lyra's facial expressions are my favorite. This is not as campy as Io Sky is, which we'll get to with her acting.
I think Lyra's doing fine. The only criticism I've had really for Lyra as far as like her promos and acting and like facial expressions was that Raw before SummerSlam when she was wearing those like colorful shoes and talking about the Becky two-step or something and like the little twirl around. Yeah, other than that, like I haven't had any issues with like any of her acting or any of her facial expressions. I thought tonight she was good, like in the backstage segment, like before Bayley went out for the match, where she said like, "I'm done with you. I can't do this anymore." And yeah, she kind of feels like she's on edge. She kind of feels like she doesn't know how to react to Bayley or what Bayley's gonna do next. So I feel like in that sense, she's been doing a good job. So yeah, overall, she's come a long way compared to like the start of the year when she first won the women's IC title. I feel like when you look at her then and you look at where she is now, she's definitely made a lot of progress, and I think she's going to make even more from this feud.
Adam Kidd says, yeah, Lyra needs to tone down the facial expressions, but I think she is coming along well. Acme Toon says the perfect place for return to Hugger Bayley was last week at NXT Homecoming, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, that would have been
I was
nice.
looking for that. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Back to the AJ comment. Derek Mitchell says, I think Bayley and AJ will have a segment where AJ Lee asks Bayley if she's okay and doesn't necessarily need to involve a comedy routine with a psychiatrist. Yeah, I mean, it could be a passing segment. It doesn't have to be a feud, but it also could be a feud. I mean, if AJ Lee's going to be around for a while, Bayley's going to be around for a while. They can't, they're going to need new opponents. This does seem like it's kind of a turnkey story where AJ tries to help and Bayley flips out, and then AJ goes, well, if you won't go to therapy, I'll give you in-ring therapy.
The sound of that. But I feel like they should do that feud after this Bayley and Lyra thing wraps up.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this is we can do this next May. I mean, I'm in no rush. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. People complimenting Lyra for coming along to her. Mike's skill has improved a lot, to be fair. Derek Mitchell goes, Lyra's acting like Meryl Streep compared to Io Sky, reference to my comment there. And Adam Kidd says she has improved. She was entertaining. She was as entertaining as watching C-SPAN when she first came to the main roster. God, people are dishing on tofu. Now they're dishing on C-SPAN, Kurt? No, C-SPAN can be dry.
It's not that entertaining, to be honest.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine who was older than me, and when C-SPAN first happened, he's like, oh my God, this is like amazing. You can watch government operating. And then it went from how does it work to a bunch of cameras in government buildings has turned people into performers as opposed to just quietly going about their work. It's amplified a negative aspect of lawmaking is people looking for those sound bites. So JC Scooby says more promos Lyra does, more gets comfortable and better.
Exactly.
I'm not sure about your syntax there, JC, but I know what you meant. More promos. Is this Yoda? More promos Lyra does. More gets comfortable and better.
He probably meant to say more promos that Lyra does.
Oh, I know what he meant. I just got to pick on what ended up coming out in the comments. That was funny. All right. CJ, anything else?
Yeah. I just think this is, as a whole, this is getting, the fans are digging this.
Mm-hmm.
Like you heard the response, the boos of when Lyra told Bayley she was done at first, and then the crowd popped when Lyra came out. And I think the fans are really liking this. I'm starting to feel comfortable about Bayley's position.
Good. I told you. Deep breaths. They're giving her. They're investing in her. It doesn't mean you'll like it in the end, but you got to give it time because it's not like they're abandoning her. Yeah.
Everything they're saying right now is we want you to resign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I trust Triple H really cares about her and definitely does.
CJ just froze on us.
Oh no.
Well, I mean, I was about done with him anyway. CJ, I was about done with you anyway. There you are.
Well,
you froze up briefly on us. So
I know.
I was joking.
Some of my new computer, I gotta get fixed. That's fine. But I was gonna say one more. My mind went blank.
We'll wait as long as it takes.
We'll play elevator
music.
But yeah, I'm getting very comfortable with Bayley and them. So I can't think. I don't want to hold you up.
Yeah, throw it in the chat.
All right, thanks.
And by the way, it's going to take like 3 years for you to not shoot your head to the side to get rid of the bangs in your face, even though you don't have bangs in your face anymore. It's still going to be something you do forever.
Have that at this point.
Oh, totally. Yeah. All right, cool. Thanks, CJ.
Thanks.
Take care.
All right, let's bring Darrell into the conversation. See what Darrell has to say. Darrell, you going to turn on your cam? You don't have to, but giving you a chance here. There he is. Hey, Darrell, what's up?
What's going on?
Darrell, your camera froze. Hopefully it's not our system after CJ's froze. All right, Darrell, we'll give you a chance to come back in a second here. What do you make of it didn't get a ton of attention, but AJ Styles against John Cena as a match? Got mentioned in passing. AJ teams with Dragon Lee against Los Americanos. But first, just Styles and Cena at Crown Jewel.
I can't wait. This was one of my favorite feuds of Cena, like in his later years. I really enjoyed their 2016 matches. I even got to see one of them live at Madison Square Garden. And yeah, I'm just grateful that we're going to get to see this one more time before Cena retires. And after that god-awful crap we saw at WrestlePalooza with him and Lesnar, at least we're finally going to get a good match for a change. I feel like probably maybe Cena had the perspective of having that great match with Cody at SummerSlam, and that great match against Logan Paul at Flash in Paris. And then to go from those two matches to what happened at WrestlePalooza, he says, nah, from now on, the rest of the matches of my retirement tour are going to mean something. They're going to be at least good. So give me AJ Styles. And all of us win in that sense. I don't know if it'll be as good as their 2016 matches, but I'm looking forward to seeing what it turns out to be. And especially being in Australia, I think it'll definitely be something special in one way or another.
When I say they won't be as good as back then, it's not because they won't be good. It's a compliment to how good they were back then. But they all are, I mean, Cena's delivered. He took a hell of a beating against Lesnar for a purpose. It was fine for, I get what they're doing there. We'll see it pay off later, I think. But it was jarring, and it's not what people wanted Cena's retirement tour to be about. But yeah, you had Logan Paul, Cody, and now AJ. I mean, he's going to have some and Sammy. He has some matches he can be proud of.
Yeah, definitely. Even the Punk and Randy Orton stuff I thought was also good too, like when he was a heel. Yep.
Sadler Version 3 goes, that WrestlePalooza match did mean something. They'll rematch for sure. I can't believe the hate for that match. I don't think it's for sure they're going to rematch.
I can. I hope they don't. Yeah, after watching that match, I don't ever want to see it again.
Yeah. All right, let's see if Darrell's Wi-Fi is back. Darrell, welcome. What's on your mind tonight?
What's going on, Darrell?
What's going on with y'all today?
Good to talk to you. Good to see you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I want to first start out by talking about something. I don't think y'all really got into it yet, but the EO, Rhea Ripley, and Kabuki Warriors thing. I like what they did with them today and having them come in and had the subtitles with Asuka while she was talking. That's something I think you said about Wade they could do more with. You got that production. You should be able to do it live and while she talking and stuff like that. So I like everything. And I'm liking that they giving people like EO and Asuka them some type of real type of story to tell where they can emote and do different things than what they usually do. How y'all like it so far? And this is the longest story that they telling. Should this be a one-off or should this be continuing on to something else? Maybe those two going after the tag team titles, or both teams chasing the titles and see who get them first.
Yeah, Kurt, I got mixed feelings on this. I mean, I get what they're trying to do, friendship, family versus how people treat you. I mean, there's a lot of real life parallels in a lot of people's lives but it's family, and you put up with abuse and you put up with ridiculous amounts of disrespect because, it's family and there's history there. And I think they're tapping into that. But you also have the language barrier. But it's not just that. It's also just some really cornball acting that's distracting. I mean, EO's pouty face, Asuka's mannerisms, I guess, are kind of grown to be endearing. But, I don't know. So, yeah, tell me the pros and cons of what you think here, Kurt.
Yeah, admittedly, EO's acting isn't the best. I mean, I give her a pass because, English isn't really her first language. It's not, that strong. On the same level, I would say Stephanie McCure as far as her English goes. But with that aside, I feel like it has been a good story. Like ever since they started this build for it, like about a month and a half ago, I feel like it's been one of the more consistent parts of the show. And then last week, everything like really hit a fever pitch with the official turn of Asuka. That was great. And then turning on EO afterwards also was well done. And then tonight, EO, I kind of like figured she would like be ready to team up with Rhea right away, but I did like how they sold it at first, where she kind of like still couldn't bring herself to, leave Kyrie and Kyrie and Asuka. She couldn't bring herself to do it because of all that history. But then when Asuka just sprayed her in the face with a mist and basically turned her into a Smurf, she's like, you know what? The hell with this. I've had enough. I'm fighting this woman once and for all. I'm going to beat her ass. So, like, I figured it was leading to the tag match. That was inevitable. But I did like how they, led to it tonight with the segment they did. It was kind of like one of the more consistent stories told throughout the night. And overall, I think it's the best build and best storyline going into Crown Jewel out of all the matches.
I think the weirdest thing about this whole night is that Io Sky didn't get any kind of medical attention to rinse her eyes, wash off her face. She got sprayed in the face, but somehow backstage her arms and chest were covered in this mist. And then she kept, sweating or crying or whatever, and it kept getting in her eyes. It's like, go get her like eyes washed out, go shower. It's like for an hour plus, she's just her eyes are stinging. It's like there are like resources in Raleigh, like you can in this arena, you can actually go shower that off or have somebody in the medical team wipe you down. That was just, it got I know they do it like right after, after the commercial break. Maybe it hasn't happened yet, but they really stretched that out way too long. So I thought that was a little much because that's what I was thinking about instead of the story they were telling. I'm like, and I think a lot of people at home are like, why don't you wipe that stuff off your body and face if it keeps stinging, as opposed to listening to what they're saying. But yeah, I don't fully excuse. I think part of the acting, Kurt, is because of the language barrier. They're probably being produced to emote more with their body language and facial expressions, but it's just, I don't know. To me, it comes across as undermining and distracting more than enhancing. I don't know. Yeah, I'm curious if they are being told like over emote in order to make up for it.
Yeah, I've seen bad acting before. Like if you've ever watched any horror movie from the 80s, you've seen bad acting before.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's exactly that bad, but I get it. Yeah. You could like definitely tell like this isn't natural for her. It's definitely something new to her. But hey, at least she's actually on the show regularly compared to like when she was the champion and she wasn't on the show for weeks at a time. So I'll take it.
Draw back to you.
I would say they acting ain't as bad as Tubi movies, but
never watched any of them.
But I guess this is the first time they doing it. But this story that they telling do have layers because you have the EO thing going on right now, and then eventually you're probably going to have people starting to look okay. The number one person who I'm looking at is Kari and how she's acting and how she's going and when is she's going to get enough and fed up with Oscar, and you have something there. So that's something right there. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is what happened in the main event at the end of the show. They had Roman come out and do all that. And I asked early in the chat, and I'm gonna ask you guys, is Roman playing the devil on Jay Uso's side? Back there telling him, hey, F everybody else, what I told you to do, what I told you, it's your show. Go take what's yours and stuff like that, because we did get before LA Knight and Kofi got made, he was asking for a title shot, and Adam Pearce was saying that it's one other person who's qualified to be a contender for the title, and he never got to say it because New Day coming in, then you would think that's Jay Uso, and I don't know how you're gonna get Roman on the show unless he either tagging with Jay or Jimmy. Then with Jimmy was back there looking like really Roman, and he wasn't looking like he was vibing with Roman, but you had Roman kind of leading Jay into that path that we seeing that he was going down. So what did you guys think about the whole thing?
Kurt, Darryl brings up a lot of compelling aspects to this. We know Jay well, we know Jimmy well, we know Roman well. And they're trying to tell a layered story here where they're kind of keeping you guessing in terms of how Jay's going to react and Jimmy's going to react to Roman as the alpha, kind of trying to lay down the law or frame things a certain way and maybe steer people. What do you think of the story they're telling, and where do you think it's going?
Yeah, with Roman back, it was a little surprising. I thought he would have like maybe waited a few more weeks to return, but it was a nice, ending to the show. But yeah, that is kind of interesting where him kind of like telling Jay like before Clash in Paris that you should be more selfish, you should take what's yours. And ever since then, that's like where we've like slowly seen Jay like change and like become more aggressive, especially with the situation with LA Knight. So now that Roman's back, it's gonna be interesting to see like how much more deeply Jay like dives into the madness and dives into the dark side. So yeah, I wasn't thinking about Roman turning heel anytime soon, but now with this whole scenario, it could be a possibility. Although I would say maybe it's not a good idea because I feel like Roman and Jay turning heel together would take away from Jay turning heel. And I think Jay turning heel should be the bigger deal in this whole scenario. But we'll see how it plays out.
There's a little bit of like the Roman verse or the Bloodline verse, the Cody verse, the Rusev verse, the things we talk about where people just kind of rest. Now Moxley has that. Moxley and his friends are always involved in storylines with each other. And that's, it's natural that wrestlers want to work with people who they have chemistry with and respect and hang out with. But I'm I would say worried, but I just think WWE should be cognizant of the possibility that it'll just come across a little incestuous, just having another storyline with Jay, Jimmy, and Roman and not splitting them off to do other things. Although they split them off and did other things first. So, I mean, this is more of a reunion than a continuation. So that's where I'm giving them more slack than that. Ryan Solari on the chat goes, Roman is positioning Jay to be OTC2. I don't know if Jay's up for it, but that, again, we use the phrase a lot, it might be a feature, not a flaw. That they might position Jay as, the leader of the group who can't actually, he doesn't have the gravitas for it. And that can be, again, part of what is Jay's frustration when he kind of takes on a leadership position. Kurt, any thoughts on that? And then we'll go back to Draw.
Yeah, that could definitely be a possibility too, where like maybe Jay doesn't feel like he can handle the pressure and that causes him to turn on Roman. I could definitely see a scenario where Jay turns, but instead of like, being friends with Roman, he turns on Roman as kind of revenge for everything that happened between them a few years ago, where like he says he didn't forget about that. And now I'm in a position to take you over and take your spot away. But I feel like it kind of be similar to kind of the Roman and Solo Sikoa feud from last year. But I think only in this scenario, I could see Jay winning and actually getting the better of Roman as opposed to what happened with Solo before. So, yeah, I could definitely see it playing in that way. But either way, regardless, Jay Uso needs to turn heel. It needs to happen. I know his entrance is great. I know the fans love it and all that. But that guy needs to turn heel. He has nothing about being a babyface about him at all anymore. So make that change and make it soon.
And ring entrances being cool and merch selling is no reason to not tell the best story you can. You got to keep your eye on what's most important. Everything else fall into place. Tell the best stories you can. Sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice merch money or a cool ring entrance to tell the story that's the best story to tell. And that should always be what you do. It's like in football. There's a fancy, pretty trick play, but you just want points on the board. And, some would argue, well, ring entrances sell tickets because it's communal experience and merchandise is cash in pocket. But I still think the bigger thing, you don't want to give up on a whole chapter of someone's career being cast the right way because you're worried about a ring entrance or merch. So, and they got a lot out of it. Now make room for someone else to get something out of it. Brock Benningfield in the chat says, Jay getting humbled is a good story. Now, Zuarte Pyramidi says, I don't know if I said that right. You can't be an OTC2. And I was like processing that. You can't be an original tribal chief 2. You can be the next tribal chief, like the NTC or something like that, but there's only one original. So the semantics sometimes are important, sometimes not. Everyone can judge for themselves there. Sadler Vision 3 goes, turning Jay early will be good for the entrance. It won't get worn out and tiresome. It'll be exciting when he turns face again in the future. Exactly. All right, Jerome, what else?
Yeah, and again, they might not be going together. He's just somebody who's leading him in a direction, and he's somebody who had success and not knowing how to handle it. That's a story that you can tell as well. And he told him tonight, this is your show. So Roman is also planning like he's not going to be on this show forever. He just on here to handle business, and he going back to where he came from, which would probably be SmackDown where him and Cody reside. So that's something that they can also tell as well. But it was good just to see. And tonight was a show built heavy off building stories, and this the most story built show that they don't had in a while, and it kind of flowed together a little bit. So it wasn't, you could have your nicks and picks with a lot of the different things, but I like what they did. And going back to a conversation that y'all had earlier with the Seth and Cody, I just think phrasing them as the two top guys and allowing them to talk about it and saying that they're going for the top to lead the company. Cody with the QB1, still talking about I'm gonna be the lead, I'm gonna be the ace, and then you having WWE in the video package talking about two guys fighting to be the ace of the company and stuff. That puts value on that word and everything like that, and just change the narrative that they have going on right now. Because right now we know that we're getting Cena and AJ, but you don't have too many people talking about it. You had AJ mentioned that right there, but this should be the lead. You would think Rhea would be the lead and people will be clamoring for her to be the main event. But with what they're doing, even though it's quick and it's a quick turnaround, what they're doing is building more interest in that, and I like what they're doing. Hopefully this can be something that they can work off of, because once the title is and you get that lead guy, they're still the lead guys of their own shows. My question will be, showing that they're both the lead guys in that show, does it help the direction after Crown Jewel? With now you got two lead guys on your shows, and that's who everybody should be targeting, because right now you already starting on Raw that you got people targeting Seth and keeping him in his title in the name and stuff with Jey Uso and LA Knight, and could be CM Punk, who they has kept away from Seth for the past few weeks, and it looked like another week they're gonna keep them apart. So does this help with the direction and storytelling by them doing this?
Kurt, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it is helping. It's definitely censored the championships and made the people holding the championships more of a bigger deal with the story they've been telling. And as far as after Crown Jewel, I feel like it'll definitely help. It already looks like it's helping so far. Like, this is the clear main event of the show. There's no debate about it. And then when Rollins eventually wins, because I do think he's going to end up winning, I think it'll like actually make him stronger, make him a bigger heel as they go into Survivor Series, because I think he's probably going to be the leader of the men's War Games team going into that. So yeah, I definitely think it's going to help. It's going to definitely make more, and then it's going to be a big factor in making their matches at Survivor Series for whatever titles, whatever their challenges are, make it a bigger deal. So yeah, I definitely think it's helping in that regard. And then as long as they keep on the path they're going right now, it'll continue to help. And more than anything, it's just been a nice breath of fresh air on the show compared to the Punk and Rollins feud we've been seeing for months. Like, it's actually nice to see, Rollins feud with somebody different. And maybe that's also helping too, that he's actually feuding with somebody new. It's something fresh. It's something that, we haven't seen in a while. And yeah, that's also helping it make it feel more important.
Yeah, well put. Drill, anything else before we move on?
Yeah, last thing would be that one little segment with Tiffany Stratton and Stephanie back here. Hey, Tiffany character still not rub me the right way. Hopefully this starts her turn to being a heel, so it can help grow that character. What did y'all think about that so far? And that's it for me.
All right, cool. Thanks, Drill. Kurt, seeing these wrestlers cross paths with each other when they are on, separate paths otherwise, it's cool, but doesn't mean it's a great showcase. What do you think?
Yeah, it was fine. It was just nice and quick. It was just the best way they could sell the match coming up at Crown Jewel as possible for tonight. Yeah, this is going to be a case where, like, they'll have the match at Crown Jewel and it'll mean absolutely nothing afterwards. It's going to be forgettable. But I think they could still pull off a good match. I definitely think they both have it in them to do so. But yeah, everyone was really talking about last Friday about that match with Tiffany, Nia Jax, and Jade Cargill, where like everything just fell apart in like the last like 2 minutes or so. And obviously Jade Cargill getting the big gash on her head also didn't help either. Yeah, that whole thing, just really didn't turn out well, to the point where like even when I watched the highlight online, they actually skipped that part. I didn't even know that happened until I read about it afterwards. So yeah, that didn't really come off looking the best. Tiffany Stratton, I think, has been a good champion for the most part, but the problem is the competition on SmackDown isn't really the strongest, and like she hasn't really, other than Charlotte Flair, like really had that credible feud where like she thought she was gonna lose. But besides that, I think she's had a good year. I think she's done as good a job as she can with the title. But a heel turn, I don't think would be a bad thing for her. I think that would definitely probably at this point help her more than hurt her, because it doesn't look like they're going to turn Jade heel. I thought they were going to do that like around SummerSlam time and have her win the title, but since that doesn't look like it's happening and I have no freaking idea why, I say at least turn Tiffany Stratton heel. I think that'll definitely be more of a plus for her than a minus right now.
Kurt, anything else you want to bring up from tonight's episode of Raw that we haven't covered yet?
I thought the women's stuff with like Rhea, Io, Asuka, and Kyrie was one of the better parts of the show, one of the better story aspects of it. Obviously, the main event with the match itself and then Roman returning was also strong. And it was like short, but it was nice to see, the New Day actually interact with somebody besides Penta for a change. Even though they lost again. Yeah, the LA Knight thing with them, that was fine. But yeah, overall, fine show. Parts in the middle kind of dragged a little bit, but overall, I can't say it was a bad show by any stretch.
Did you pick up on what happened to Kofi, where he just kind of lost his balance and couldn't really stand up straight after a duck down with Knight? It just, the announcers were kind of perplexed too.
I got to go back and look at that again. I don't think I really caught that.
Yeah, that was weird. How about the prospects of Maxine Dupree and Becky Lynch?
Yeah, we just saw this 2 months ago and Becky killed her. They're gonna do this again. Yeah. Like it kind of reeks of like we have nothing else planned right now, so let's just do this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a chance for Becky to be mean, or they want to tell the new chapter that Maxine has gotten better. I mean, I think they'll tell a different story than they did before, but we have to wait and see. We touched on this a bit, but what did you make of Paul Heyman's facial expression and body language before he went out with Reed and Breaker when he interacted with Seth before the main event? And because he said, are you okay? And Seth said, I have to beat him. And he added, no, I have to beat him. I have to. And Heyman looked at Seth with concern, because I think that's a story beat here, which is, will Seth go too far to beat Cody? Or if Seth loses to Cody, which you're not predicting, is this laying the groundwork for what I talk about, which is sometimes losing is the impetus. It projects you to a new place as a character, and it leads. I could say 3-4 things off the top of my head where it could lead with Seth, but did you interpret that at all as maybe portending a loss from Seth, because he's saying it's so important he beats him, that they're kind of setting it up that, oh my God, it's going to be a big deal if he loses?
I think more than anything, that whole part of the show was just to sell like how desperate Rollins is to win this match and how much he needs to win this match. It really reeks of, Stone Cold Steve Austin going into WrestleMania 17. That's probably the best way I could, describe this whole thing. So as far as the way Heyman looked, I think it looked more like Heyman just concerned for Rollins and kind of like a side of Rollins he hasn't seen before. But I feel like ultimately, whenever the match plays out the way it does at Crown Jewel, I feel like everything will be like more back to normal or whatever that is as far as this whole thing goes. But yeah, like more than anything, that's all I took from that whole interaction was that Seth is desperate. Very, very desperate. Fair
enough. Kurt, thanks. Been a blast talking around with you again.
My pleasure, man. Glad to be here.
Thanks everybody in the chat. Great contributions to the show, as always. Derek says Becky and Maxine will set up a feud with AJ Lee and Becky down the road.
Yeah, that's not over.
Defense.
Yeah, it's not over.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Yeah. So go VIP, everybody. Get these shows with the commercial breaks edited out, and also a bunch of VIP exclusive shows on YouTube right now. You can see what those are: the Wade Keller Hotlines, post-event roundtables, Greg Parks Out Loud, The Fix with Todd Martin, Everything with Rich and Wade, NXT 8 Years Back, Ellen Forrell's Pro Wrest Paradise, on and on. Full details on how to sign up at PWTorch.com/GoVIP. 35 plus years of podcasts and newsletter archives weekly PDF newsletter with new exclusive VIP content, nearly 2,000 back issues since the late 1980s to peruse and dive into. It is one rabbit hole after another, just layer upon layer of our VIP sites as you click away and get deeper into the archives. Plus an ad-free version of PWTorch.com, both on mobile and desktop, so you can read our articles and our approach to covering wrestling in a nice streamlined layout and fast load times without the ads. And again, the ads, the commercial breaks go away on our free podcast, but you can also get a ton of VIP exclusive podcasts. So anyway, it's all laid out there at PWTorch.com/GoVIP. Support a small business like ours, and we appreciate when you do that. It's, you click that 10, 15, 20% tip thing when you're standing at a counter. That adds up pretty quick. You can also give us that tip jar. It's not a donation because you're getting a product in return, but if you enjoy what we put out there for free, we'd really appreciate your support with a VIP membership. We also are available with a free trial on Patreon and Spotify. Just search PWTorch VIP for a 7-day free trial. PWTorch VIP in either Patreon or Spotify, and you can unlock our VIP shows, and then you can later upgrade to a full VIP membership with Apple Podcast compatibility and archive access, or stick with Patreon and Spotify if you're mainly here for our podcast lineup. Thanks again to Kurt Cadet. Check out his work at PWTorch VIP with not only his VIP exclusive podcast that he talked about earlier, but also his Raw feud tracker. Look for that on the site later this week. And thanks again, everybody, and we will talk to you all next time.